This is USA, a country that built its identity on impossible ambitions, brutal competition, and a mindset that believes anything can be engineered into reality. The United States isn't perfect, far from it, but it's a nation that refuses to accept limits. It's the place where a failure is just an experiment, risks are normal, and reinvention is a lifestyle. The USA is a superpower not because of luck, not because of land size, and definitely not because the world owed it something. It dominates because it plays the game harder, smarter, and at a scale other countries hesitate to even attempt. Whether it's technology, military strength, global culture, business innovation, or scientific research, the US doesn't just participate, it sets the rules, rewrites them, and forces others to follow. But the real story isn't about flag-waving patriotism. It's about facts, cold, ruthless facts that explain why this country became the most influential force on the planet. So today, we dive deep into 15 powerful facts that define the United States of America. Fact 1. The USA has the largest economy on the planet. Let's start with the foundation, money. The US economy isn't just big, it's a different league altogether. For decades, America has held the #1 position in global GDP, and no competitor has managed to replace it. China tried, Europe tried, but the US economic machine is built to scale in a way others can't replicate. Why does this matter? Because economic power equals global power. When a country controls the world's biggest markets, biggest companies, and biggest innovations, everyone else has to play around its structure. The US dollar is the world's dominant reserve currency. That means countries trade using dollars, save using dollars, and even borrow using dollars. Basically, the US turned its currency into a weapon, a tool, and a global standard at the same time. Every empire in history had something like this. Rome had its roads, Britain had its navy, and the US has its economy. And unlike others, this one doesn't collapse overnight. It's fed by immigrants, innovation, competition, and a culture that rewards risk instead of fearing it. This is why when the US sneezes, the world catches a financial cold. Fact 2. The US military budget alone is bigger than the next 10 countries combined. Most nations spend money to protect themselves. The USA spends money to protect itself and to shape the entire world order. The US military budget is so massive that comparing it to other countries almost feels unfair. With aircraft carriers the size of cities, fighter jets that don't show up on radar, and bases spread across the whole planet, the US military doesn't defend borders, it projects power. People often misunderstand this part. America doesn't build big military toys for fun. It does it because control requires presence, and presence requires strength. The US Navy controls international shipping lanes. The US Air Force can reach almost any part of the world within hours. The US Cyber Command operates like a silent shadow in digital warfare. The US Space Force guards American dominance beyond Earth's atmosphere. This is why the US often decides global matters, directly or indirectly, because power talks and America speaks the loudest. Fact 3. The USA is the innovation capital of the world. If you removed American inventions from history, today's world would look like a low-budget version of itself. Let's be blunt. Most of the technology you use daily is either American or built on a blueprint created in America. Internet, invented in the US. GPS, US military tech. Personal computers, US companies. Smartphones, heavily US-driven technology. Modern software, dominated by US giants. Social media, born in the US. The reason is simple. The US rewards crazy ideas. Where other countries say, "Yeah, impossible, hey," Americans say, "Let's try it." And sometimes the results are ridiculous failures, but the successes are world-changing. Silicon Valley isn't just a place, It's a mindset built on risk, speed, and disrespect for limits. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Meta, Amazon, these aren't businesses. These are global ecosystems. They shape economies, influence governments, and alter how humanity functions. And behind this innovation? A brutal, competitive culture that doesn't tolerate laziness, excuses, or slow thinking. Fact 4. The USA is the most culturally influential country on Earth. You don't need to visit America to feel its influence. You've already experienced it. Hollywood movies, Netflix shows, hip-hop music, fast food chains, fashion trends, slang, sports culture. The U.S. exports culture faster than most countries export products. This isn't accidental. The U.S. understood something early. Culture is soft power. When your culture becomes global, your influence grows automatically. The world wears American sneakers, watches American movies, listens to American music, eats American fast food, uses American social media, and follows American trends. That's not Western influence. That's American dominance. Even people who dislike the U.S. still consume its culture. That's the real power. Fact 5. The USA attracts the best minds from around the world. One of the most underrated realities about America, it doesn't just use its own talent, it steals the world's talent. Scientists, engineers, doctors, researchers, artists, creators, people from every continent dream of studying or working in the United States. Not because it's paradise, but because it offers what many countries don't: freedom to create, access to resources, massive markets, high salaries, top universities, research opportunities, merit-based growth. Look at the CEOs of Google, Microsoft, IBM, Adobe, and countless startups. These aren't businesses. These are global ecosystems. They shape economies, influence governments, and alter how humanity functions. And behind this innovation? A brutal, competitive culture that doesn't tolerate laziness, excuses, or slow thinking.
Fact 6. The USA controls global technology standards. The United States doesn't just invent tech, it sets the rules. Think 5G standards, software protocols, cybersecurity frameworks, even AI ethics. The U.S. shapes them first, and the world often follows. Why? Because America leads where it counts: money, talent, and infrastructure. Companies like Intel, Qualcomm, Apple, and Google don't just compete, they define what is acceptable, what is fast, what is legal, and what is profitable. Other countries copy, adapt, or try to catch up, but rarely lead. This isn't arrogance, it's efficiency. Whoever controls standards controls global adoption, and the U.S. does it systematically. Fact 7. The USA is a military-industrial juggernaut. We talked about military size earlier, but here's the twist. America doesn't just spend, it innovates in war technologies. From stealth fighters to nuclear submarines, drones, satellite surveillance, and AI-controlled systems, the U.S. military-industrial complex fuels innovation across the economy. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and Boeing dominate defense tech worldwide. These aren't just weapons manufacturers, they're R&D powerhouses driving technology that later ends up in civilian product, GPS, the internet, even touchscreen tech. So while others fight with money, the U.S. fights with intelligence, scale, and foresight. Fact 8. Space dominance is an American reality. NASA may be the oldest symbol, but the U.S. space sector goes beyond rockets. SpaceX, Blue Origin, and national military satellites give America a clear edge in orbital control, planetary exploration, and commercial space travel. Owning space isn't just prestige. Satellites control communication, navigation, spying, and even missile defense. Being ahead in space means control over Earth itself, digitally and militarily. No other nation combines government resources and private enterprise like America does. This dual approach ensures the U.S. stays a step ahead in the final frontier. Fact 9. Innovation is embedded in American culture. Earlier we touched on technology, but the depth is cultural. Risk-taking, entrepreneurship, and disruption are normalized. From garage startups to billion-dollar IPOs, Americans grow up believing failure is a step, not an endpoint. This mindset produces serial entrepreneurs, investors, and innovators who keep the nation moving forward. Failure isn't stigma, it's data for the next attempt. In other words, the U.S. doesn't just create technology or businesses, it creates the conditions for relentless progress. Fact 10. The USA shapes global finance. The world revolves around Wall Street. Stocks, bonds, investment banking, hedge funds. America is the epicenter of financial decision-making. Think about it. When the Dow Jones rises or falls, markets worldwide react. When the Federal Reserve tweaks interest rates, the global economy trembles. America's financial system isn't just big, it's strategic. Every central bank, every investor, every corporation must follow or react to U.S. moves. That level of influence ensures that economic power doesn't stay local, it becomes global leverage. Fact 11. The USA has global cultural exports beyond entertainment. Hollywood movies shape global narratives and perceptions. NBA basketball attracts billions of viewers worldwide, exporting lifestyle and culture. Brands like McDonald's and Starbucks standardize consumer habits internationally. Through these exports, the U.S. embeds influence into everyday life everywhere. People might resist politics or policies, but they consume American culture unavoidably, voluntarily, and globally. Fact 12. Immigration fuels U.S. success. The USA doesn't just tolerate immigrants, it leverages them. Immigration brings ambitious, skilled people who take risks others won't. Scientists, entrepreneurs, artists, athletes. Many are born elsewhere but achieve global impact in America. This human capital accelerates innovation, growth, and culture. It's not idealism, it's a calculated advantage. Countries that reject talent slow down, the U.S. accelerates. Fact 13. Education and research dominate globally. American universities, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Caltech, are not just prestigious, they define the future. They produce Nobel laureates, tech leaders, and breakthroughs in medicine, AI, energy, and aerospace. They attract funding from both government and private sectors, creating a continuous cycle of discovery. Other nations compete, but the U.S. system remains unmatched yet. The combination of freedom, resources, and competition creates a scientific and technological edge that no rival has surpassed yet. Fact 14. Innovation in infrastructure drives competitiveness. The U.S. invests in infrastructure not for beauty, but for scale and efficiency. Highways, airports, logistics networks, fiber optics, ports, everything is optimized to move people, goods, and data quickly. Efficiency creates opportunity. Companies like Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and Tesla rely on these networks. Without it, innovation stalls. With it, the U.S. accelerates progress and global influence simultaneously. Fact 15. The USA leads in soft and hard power simultaneously. Finally, here's the full picture. The United States doesn't rely on a single form of power. Hard power, military dominance, economic size, technological superiority. Soft power, cultural influence, education, immigration appeal, media control. This combination allows America to project influence globally while maintaining resilience internally. Competitors may challenge one aspect, but few can match the full spectrum dominance. The USA doesn't just lead in one arena, it leads everywhere simultaneously, which is why it continues to dictate trends, policies, and the direction of global progress. So here's the truth.
The USA is a relentless machine of ambition, innovation, and influence. It's messy, controversial, and far from perfect. Inequality, politics, and social issues exist, everyone knows that, but none of these issues diminish the fact that the America has created systems, structures, and cultures that no other country has managed to replicate.